Welcome to Wood Talk. Now here are three guys who could do that too, if they had those tools. Marc, Shannon, and Matt.
Oh, I swallowed at the wrong time. That was bad. Hey, everybody. It's show number 574. Oh, boy. All right. On today's show.
Keep that in my heart.
I just swallowed, I had a little bit of water earlier, and I was just all salivating and swallowed at an inopportune time.
It's Wood Talk time. It's just like Pavlov's dog.
Yep.
Best time.
All right, well, we're talking about building a table for a 3-season room. How can 6-inch sanders possibly be better? And go-to finishes. But before we get to that, we want to let you know that Wood Talk is proudly sponsored by you. And Matt's going to tell you how you might be able to help us out if you want to.
If you want to, you're so very welcome to help support this show. You can do so. You can go to patreon.com/woodtalk and sign up to become a patron of this amazing wood topic-ish show thing we do. Mm-hmm. This time we're thanking Daniel Wolfgang, John McCracken, Ant, Built by Ant, Kevin, Scott, Goldswatt? Goldswait? No, that's cool. David, the infamous David, Jeremy Clay,
David.
Will Baumgartner, and My Hermit Life, our buddy Brian.
All right. Nicely done. Well, thank you, everybody, for helping us out. We always appreciate that. You're the best.
And you know what the patrons also get besides my silly interpretation of the spelling of their names?
A deduction from their credit card or their checking account.
They get a monthly deduction and
an above-the-line tax deduction. It's like a charitable thing.
Yeah, we're getting there. You also get an ad-free version of the show. Every patron gets access to the exclusive feed with no ads in there, just weird, awkward pauses where the ads should be.
The ones that come natural. And the whole thing with the ads is, I get it. It's a pain, sometimes listening to them. Almost every podcast I listen to is now using the same service we use, so I get to hear the same ads, like over and over and over. And look, there's a great feature in most podcast apps for setting things like when it starts, and then also 30-second skip. So, make generous use of those features if it's really a problem. Or just support us on Patreon and subscribe to the ad-free feed, and you don't have to think about it.
Zero thinking.
Awesome. Yes.
We all like that.
That's what this show's about.
100%. All right, so let's get to a couple of quick announcements. So first of all, we record the show a little ahead of time. You guys probably know that by now. And by the time you hear this, Woodworking in America will have already occurred. And will have had occurred.
Yes.
And we want to know what you guys think. So when we come back,
great.
Obviously.
I had a blast.
Matt had a really good time.
So
It was weird. He showed up drunk one morning. I don't know what's going on over there. He must not get away from
I was
home.
up late doing wood stuff, all right?
Yeah, you do what you do.
It was a great chainsaw juggling demonstration, though, Matt.
It was fantastic. Just see the size of my arms.
This is the highlight of the weekend. I'll tell you that. So we will have a little bit of a recap, but we also want to hear from you folks, those who attended. It's good. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a huge show, but if anybody listening here decides to go, we want to hear what you thought of it, especially if you went to like one of the old ones in the past. How's it compare? What'd you think of it? Let us know, and we'll do a little recap next time. Well, not next week. It'll be like 2 shows from now. Yeah, okay.
Sometime before the end of the year.
We record way too ahead of time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that'll be a while.
Okay, one more announcement is we started a thing in the guild called Guild Plus, and it is a new subscription. my horn.
I don't know. I'm assuming Todd will do the sound effects. What am I doing? I don't know. I'm taking work away from Todd.
Yeah, put an air horn in there for me, Todd, please. Appreciate that. So yeah, it is it's a new subscription service that's a add-on to your guild membership. And you'll want to go to the woodwhispererguild.com/plus to see all the features, but it includes more live demos, interviews. In fact, I just interviewed Caleb James. His course is on pre-order right now, and had a super fun interview with him. So you can go and check that out if you join today. It's sitting there waiting for you. Caleb is a super cool guy, has a very interesting background, and had a great little conversation with him. So had a good time. Now, the funny thing is we posted a little bit of that interview on, I think Nicole posted a little clip as a reel on Instagram. And somebody commented that, this is great, but I really wish, no offense against Wood Talk, but I really wish this was the kind of thing we could get from Wood Talk. And I had to reply, I don't.
Yeah.
It's hard enough getting the three of us together,
Yeah.
but we decided a long time ago that, while Matt, I think Vanderlist and I did have guests periodically. Shannon. We have guests. We had one guest.
One of them never left.
He wouldn't leave, no matter what we do. He kept bugging us.
This is what happens.
This is why we don't
do it.
Yeah.
I am
Did
the
we
reason.
ever have like an actual outside of this Wood Talk guest with you on the show, Shannon? Or was that all me and Vanderlist?
I was a guest once.
Yeah.
You were
I mean,
too, yeah.
I started as a guest, and I think it was like 10 episodes later, I just kind of
is what
showed up
happens.
again.
They just
So,
don't leave.
We've never really
Yeah.
been big on having guests in the first place. It's just, it's tough to coordinate. And I could tell you from that interview
We're
that I did
three
with
awkward
Caleb,
guys. I don't think it's
Super
a fourth
awkward.
person to be able to handle the energy in the room right here.
I mean, you can call it energy. I'm not sure that's actually what it is, but
I don't know. For the aura.
Well, I mean,
and I can tell you just from my experience with this interview with Caleb, times have changed. Like people have access to decent looking and sounding devices now that were much harder back then. To get people just to use Skype back then was like ridiculous. And
sure.
I've had people where I've done interviews with people who were on a speakerphone. And I told them do not use a speakerphone, but I could tell from the echo and all that stuff, they were definitely on a speakerphone. It is still nerve-wracking because I did this whole interview, and because the interview went for an hour, it was recorded. He used his phone to use, we were on Zencaster actually. Well, when it's done, Zencaster takes the upload that's been, it's basically stored temporarily on his phone, and it has to push it up. Well, he's got a slow internet connection. It was taking hours, and I'm sweating bullets the whole time going like, am I even going to get this video file? I do not look forward to doing that any more than is absolutely necessary. So like if we did that on this show and somebody's video just didn't work, I'd be like, oh God, this stinks.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That would
well,
never happen.
the good news is
Never
I
had
found
technical
this out.
difficulties.
Never. It's usually my fault, but
Yep.
I found out, fortunately, Zencaster has like triple redundancy in their backups because I had what I thought was a really great interview on the Lumber Update, and whatever happened locally, it was just not there.
Oh boy.
And the upload didn't happen, and I called Zencaster, and they have like literally 3 different archived backups. It's pretty cool. But
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, if you want interviews, I'm still doing them over on the Lumber Update. In fact, I just put out a show today.
There you go. We'll go listen to that.
Go bother
see?
Shannon.
Yep.
There we go.
We are alienating listeners one day at a time.
And these are like
alienating
professional
them
people.
towards
So,
Shannon.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Go over there.
like a sister show. I guess it's fine.
yeah.
All right. Well, let's get to what's on the bench.
okay.
uh,
Okay.
It's been a weird time. I haven't really been doing a lot of building. I finished up my storage cabinet under the table saw.
Yes.
Once that was done, we went to like focusing on the business and doing businessy things. I made some Halloween lanterns as requested by my wife, and made, in fact, that was one of the demos that I did for Guild Plus. That's also in there if you want to go check that out. But these little walnut lanterns, you do and check this out. I pulled the scroll saw out. Turns out a lot of people didn't even know I had one.
That. I didn't even had that still. Wow.
I did my shop tour recently, and I guess I walked right by it and never even acknowledged it in the shop tour. And someone commented on how sad it was as a scroll saw, like a Sawyer, and this is what they do. How sad it was I didn't even mention it. I'm like, I haven't touched that thing in years. And then coincidentally, here I am cutting out little teeth and eyeballs on my little Halloween lantern using the scroll saw. So
See, and I'm kind of ticked about that because every month I do a live demo called Office Hours at the Hand Tool School, and next Thursday I'm doing Halloween lanterns.
oh no,
I saw that pop up on my feed. I'm like, you son of a damn it. Because there's a fair bit of crossover between guild members and Hand Tool School members. I'm like, all right, how am I going to pull this off? Like, it's not enough to just say, well, I'm not using a scroll saw, I'm using a fret saw. That's not enough anymore. So I got to figure out how to like over engineer this. And
sure.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, mine's already out there, so you do have a bit of an advantage because now you can kind of pivot and adjust as needed.
I could go another direction, but like I've already got the stock prepped. I'm kind of like, because I go out of town tomorrow and we'll come back the day before the demo. I was like, I actually did work ahead of time, and I saw your freaking video come out. I was like, God.
And that was not really well planned. It was like a very last minute decision to do that. So, sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Other than that, I've just been doing prep work for Woodworking in America, just sample boards and joinery things that I'm going to be doing in my demo. So not a ton, but I'll tell you, I can't wait to actually get back to building a legit piece of furniture because I'm kind of itching at this point.
Very nice.
Shannon, what do you got going on?
This is weird. So like, unlike Mark, I've actually had some time to build. It's usually the opposite. And got into the shop and built a wall shelf, kind of one of those like open box design wall shelves. So like, instead of a 4-sided cube, you've got one open and it's attached to like a backer panel. Mark, you remember that shelf you made years ago? It had like the central column and it had the shelves laid into it. It's the same idea, except there's a box over top of it and it's a 3-sided box. It's just a fun little project, it'll hold some, knick-knack type things.
Okay, hold on. You've said so far a 3-sided box and you said a 4-sided cube. Oops. I don't know what the hell this thing looks like.
Well, it involves splitting of some atoms and several cross-dimensional.
And I'm like, what the? I'm trying to follow this.
There's a lot of
Marx is like a shelf tree thing. And then
somehow this is
Then I'm picturing like a 5-sided box on the wall with a back, and then I'm like, okay, those 3 sides. It's It's a
There's
triangle
some complex
box.
calculus going on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, basically, you build a box and then you compress one side to a singularity, and then after you clear the gamma radiation from your shop, you have
that makes sense.
You have a tesseract, and you're good.
You have to send it through the Hadron Collider, right? And then
right.
Okay,
right, but it's in my shop that's pedal powered, so
sure. It takes a little.
You got to hold 140 cadence for at least 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's good exercise, though.
It is two shelves. One shelf is a square, a 4-sided box. The bottom shelf only has 3 sides, so it's an open square, if you will. And the shelf is actually twice as long, so it looks like you took the square and kind of opened it, hinged it out to the side, and you've got that open thing.
Okay.
However, this is all kind of a moot point because I finished it and I had just glued it up and put it in the clamps. And I was in typical bad idea multitasking, had my garage door open and was putting my bike on my roof rack. So I took the shelf out, set it on the roof of the car, and then put the bike on the top and forgot the shelf was on top of the car. And miraculously, the shelf stayed on top of the car for probably about a mile before a very loud crash I heard, and I couldn't figure out what it was.
Oh, no.
And unfortunately, I was still in my neighborhood, but it had that sinking realization like 30 seconds later. Oh, that's what that crash was.
Yeah.
I can put it back together. I mean, so I guess there's one thing. I mean, it had hidden dovetail joinery in there. So, but it was still wet glue. It was still in the clamps. So it definitely shifted a whole lot. And I had to take it back and kind of break it apart. But yeah.
Oh, man.
So I built the shelf and then I broke it and I haven't bothered to go back. So I think that's like the universe telling me like, okay, slow down.
Yeah. Maybe now it's time to go on vacation.
Yeah. Go build some like jack-o'-lanterns or something like that.
There you go.
The box needs more sides. That's the problem.
Yep. Not enough sides.
That was
it's always going to fail on you.
That was it. But the bike stayed on top of the car. That's the important
part. Oh, that's good.
I'd be more concerned about the bike.
Yeah,
honestly. Right. All right, Matt, what do you got going
on? I made a hidden door for our pantry.
Whoa.
Never-ending list of kitchen projects. I made the first person door? Human walking through door?
Man door? Woman door?
I think it's just called the door.
They door?
I don't know. A door that's not on a cabinet, not on a piece of furniture, like a full-size door that some person could walk through, not just me.
Mm-hmm. So it's
a
hidden?
Size person. Yeah. So the design.
So it's a panic room.
It could be.
It's a kitchen panic room.
Yeah, it'd be a weird panic room, but with the window in it to the other room. But
plenty of food though.
Plenty of food in it though.
There would be food.
It's a key element
The
of a
door
panic
is
room.
pretty heavy and thick, so I mean that you got that going for you. So the design that the architect spec'd is that the pantry, the wall the door is in, is paneling with a baseboard on the bottom, and then the door that sits in that wall also has paneling with a baseboard on the bottom. So when it's closed, it closes flush to the wall, and it looks just like the whole wall. And you push it in. So it's an in-swing door. So the hinge point is like inside the jamb. So they also spec'd that I would use concealed hinges. And the only time I used concealed hinges before this was on the charging station in the hutch. And there were these little tiny sauce hinges. And these ones are like these giant steel door ones that are ridiculously heavy and huge.
$700 hinge ones, those, yeah.
They're $350 a hinge. Yeah, they want you to use a lot of
That's
them.
probably what I'm thinking. $750 or $700 for the pair.
Yeah, they don't come in pairs. They come in singles.
Yeah.
Right.
Each one with its own payment plan.
Yes, that's what it feels like. So,
oh my gosh.
The other thing is that the jambs are flush to the paneling too. So you have like this completely flush inset reveal thing going on. But the guy who set the jambs and the paneling didn't pay enough attention. So the not the hinge side, the latch side, even though there's no latch, the jamb is kicked out by like a 1/4 inch over the whole run. So the opening is twisted. So that was kind of a fun challenge. I'm like, well, it's really easy to make a twisted door when you don't want to.
Right.
Right.
But when you need to.
When you need to, I'm like, oh, this is going to kind of be weird. So instead of actually making like an actual twist in the door by like through some kind of glue up process or like intentionally twisting a frame or something, I planed a piece of MDF with a twist in it.
Yeah.
And used that as a laminate. And I wasn't quite sure that was actually going to work. It worked perfectly. You close the door and it just perfectly aligns to the exact geometry of that opening, where the bottom left corner is kicked out a 1/4 inch because it has to close flush. That baseboard closes flush on the bottom.
Yeah.
You can hide some of any kind of weirdness in the paneling because it's V-groove paneling. So you have the expansion gap and the actual chamfers that can kind of hide a little bit of weirdness. But at the bottom where the baseboard is, it's like completely flush. So it's got to be perfect down there. But I just put a piece of MDF on the surfacer thing, shimmed it the right way. So it tapers a 1/4 inch from left to right and top to bottom. So that one bottom corner is like just thicker. Which went really well. I was very surprised. Went really well.
Yeah.
And then this kind of laminated it up out of 3 more layers of MDF. So it's variable thickness now. But at the top is 2 inches, at the bottom is 2 1/4, and now on that one corner. And it's like 150 pounds and without any hinges on it yet. It's a super heavy door.
That's
first door I made.
That's cool.
Effed up. Yeah. Concealed flush mount, effed up door.
Yeah. The problem is you made the door too perfect.
Maybe.
You're just too good at what you do.
That's it, Matt.
It was actually one of the easier things I've done, to be honest.
This is why everyone hates you.
It went so fast compared to everything else.
That's wild. Who, so the designer, was this an idea you guys had, or did you just give him a lot of freedom?
I have zero ideas for this.
Yeah, you just told this guy, have fun.
That's kind of,
have a good time.
Now that I've gotten this far into it, I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
Yeah. He seems like he had a real field day.
He's like, oh, this guy will do literally anything I tell him to do? Okay, great. Let's just throw everything
Make sure you've had several shots of whiskey before you start designing.
Well, it sounds pretty cool. So no visual evidence, though. Like when this is all done, door sits home, everything. There's no way you can tell that this was done without measuring something.
You'll see like the expansion gaps look kind of weird because instead of like an actual expansion gap in paneling, it's just a void, right?
Yeah.
So you'll be able to tell that it's a door. Plus, we're going to put a handle on it so you have something to grab as you're pushing into it so you're not touching the door the whole time. Mm-hmm. But like visually...
So I kind of meant the repair is not visually
evident. I don't... You got to psych down the whole side to notice that it gets thicker as you look down, and
no one's going to notice.
I don't think so.
That's good.
Even if
the
did,
listeners of the show, when they come to your kitchen, they're going to like sight down the door.
We have the kitchen release party at your house. We're all going to look at it.
Come on over. You can see all the problems. They're everywhere.
That's a new level on our Patreon campaign. If you sponsor at this level, you get to go and look at Matt's hidden door.
It's going to be pretty expensive, though.
Right. He might even lock you in his hidden pantry. At a certain
That
moment.
happened to me already because there's no handle on the inside. I was looking. I closed the door to like see how it was looking on the inside. I'm like, oh, I can't open this door now because it sets fully inside the jam, like 4 inches. Like there's nothing to grab. I'm like, how did I literally did it to myself? Like, oh, come on, really?
What
So I
a
texted Lindsay,
wild
like, come open
moment.
the door for me.
And we're out of peanut butter.
And I knew in my head, I'm thinking about, there's no handle on the front yet, so you can't close it. I'm like, I'm looking at it. I'm like, let me see how it looks. As soon as I close it, I'm like, oh, I knew.
Whoops.
I knew as soon as I closed it. Crap.
It's Matt's panic pantry. Wow. Good
Lindsay,
stuff.
come let me out of the pantry. I'm stuck. Oh, she's like, okay, like something fell on you? Like you're stuck on the door?
No, just can't get out. Dude, that's amazing. All right. Well,
That's
on
life
that
at my
positive
house.
note, we're going to take a little break for a little commercial interruption, and we'll see you on the other side of it. Okay.
Oh, we're back.
That was fun.
Oh,
That was
we
fun,
made it.
wasn't it?
Wow,
Real good
I'm so
time.
rested. Really more rested.
I feel so refreshed and ready
great
for the
break.
second half. All right. You got some questions here. I think we can answer those questions, or at least try. The first one I have is from another Mark, but a Mark with a K. And my mom actually told me how I got my name, and that it was Mark with a K. And since my brother's name was Ian, she just wanted to make my name a little bit more unique because she thought Ian was kind of unique and Mark was just kind of plain. So she put a C on it. That's the whole reason.
She could at least give you like a little accent or something.
Something fancier. I mean, she just changed a letter. Come on, Mom. You could do better.
Not a good story.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. That was a real letdown, huh?
And then she could have given you like a QUE or something like that.
Right? MARQUE. That wouldn't be confusing at all.
L apostrophe M-A-R-Q.
All right, well, let's see if the other Mark can give us a better story. He says, I've been asked to build a dining table 42 inches by 84 inches for a 3-season room that's attached to our house in Columbus, Ohio. Can I use the same techniques as building a table for use in the kitchen, or will temperature extremes and humidity shifts destroy the tabletop and joints? Is there a finish that can withstand these extremes as well? Thanks a million. 3-season room, I mean, the one, there's outside, and then there's like capital O outside, right?
Yeah.
A 3-season room is lowercase o outside.
I wouldn't even call it outside to begin with, to be honest.
It's like inside with some outside elements. You're not getting direct sun, which is a huge factor in the stability of wood and durability of finishes and how long they last. So no direct sun. It is probably just getting wind, maybe a little bit of ambient moisture if there's a sideways rain or something. I mean, I don't know how, like if it's all screened in or if it's glass. If you have windows, I don't know about that stuff, but we're talking close to inside conditions. So I honestly, if I were doing this, I would just build this table with all the same rules of wood movement that we would normally have. Maybe if I'm doing something where, this is a table, so it's not like a frame and panel, but let's say I was doing a frame and panel, I would be sizing that panel so that it, maybe a little more generous in the expectation that it's going to move a little bit more than I would normally expect it to. But in the case of a table, I just think you build a nice table, put an exterior finish on that sucker, and I think it's going to be fine in a 3-season room. I mean, Matt, you built a big ass farmhouse table and you just left that sucker outside.
It's still outside.
Yeah. Okay. And it's, I mean, I don't know what the condition of the finish is, but
it's done.
Okay. So but the thing is still together and
it's fine.
Usable.
Maybe you will not fall through it.
Right.
If you put your food on it.
And that's full exposure, right?
Yes. That was more especially to test it too, especially for that specific guild project, because a lot of people are really interested in outdoor finishes. So I'm like, okay, this is a fully exposed, 100% not protected table. Let's see how it lasts. And that was 2017.
Yeah,
I think it's been at least 6 years out there. And the finish is like completely failed now. It was like kind of failing last year. It probably should have been refinished last year.
Yeah.
Was it 7 years? So it probably lasted 6 years. But the other thing with the table itself is the top itself is sort of like a protector of the rest of it. And the top is the easiest thing to refinish because it's a big flat surface. Refinishing the base is a lot more work because you got to sand all those inside corners. Base still looks fine. It has a few little weird damage spots. But other than that, the finish is still really intact and perfect. The top has taken all the abuse and protected the base.
So I think in his situation, without those extremes,
I mean, in his situation, put a regular table out in that room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's like a 3-season room that I'm envisioning, it's just like an unheated room.
Right.
Yeah. Like a screened in porch at the extreme, maybe, but
Yeah.
it's got a roof, more importantly.
Yeah, I think Mark, I think you got plenty of options here. I don't think you have to worry too much about the conditions in that case. So build what you think looks good, put a decent quality finish. And I said before, an outside finish, like an exterior finish. I don't even know that is necessary, right? I mean, It just needs finish.
Yeah.
Whatever finish you're good at applying is probably going to be just fine. All right, Matt, you're up.
Great answer, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you. I kind of made you answer it, so you're welcome.
Dang it. You tricked me again. Making me work. Answer questions.
Once a month.
What am I here for? All right. This is from, let's see, Riley. Riley says, I've been using a standard cheap 5-inch sander for basically the entirety of my life, right from the birth canal, and I'm frankly fed up. I'm looking.
Must have been painful.
I'm not,
Hopefully that was
I'm not looking
fine grit.
for necessarily the finest finish, but I need to cover a lot of surface area rather quickly. The primary thing I will be sanding is timbers for timber frame structures. The house I'm currently working on is made up of over 200 individual timbers, some of which need to be touched on all 4 sides. Because of this, I'm leaning towards a 6-inch sander. Are they really that much faster? Not partial to any particular brand, but I'm not interested in a cordless version. This is one of those things, like, I went through this as a younger woodworker guy. Mm-hmm. The same thing, like it's the same thing. It's a sander's a sander. I'm like, okay, well, I got my $60 rigid sander. I was sanding cutting boards and stuff like that. That's back when I was making cutting boards. That was my primary sander. And there were 2 revelations that I had when I bumped up to a 6-inch sander. I got the Festool ETS with the 5mm stroke. 2 things. First off, I think it's way faster to go to a 6-inch regardless, especially if you're using one of these smaller, cheaper sanders that have tiny strokes. The amount of time you're wasting standing there waiting for the sander to actually cut the wood and sand, you're going to be kicking yourself for not doing this sooner, just in time saving. It's astronomical, the difference that makes. The other sort of thing that went hand in hand with my change of sanders is I bought, air quotes, real sandpaper, and started actually using sandpaper like it's supposed to be used as a disposable thing and chucking it out as soon as it stopped cutting. I cannot explain to you how many hours I wasted sitting there sanding cutting boards with sandpaper that was so used up that it shouldn't be used anymore. I'm like, oh, there's still some grit here. Still cutting.
It still feels rough.
It's still kind of rough feelings. Throw it away.
Yeah.
Put a new piece of sandpaper on and move on with your life. You'll save so much time. So those 2 things combined together, they go into like a real, air quotes, real sander. Yes, it makes a huge difference to go to like an actual, real big, actual sander that can actually chew through material. And you'll be surprised, like, oh, I'm convinced that people that say they hate sanding have those 5-inch crappy sanders.
Right. Yeah.
100%. 100%. That's my own personal thing that I have like feelings about. My hot take of my life is that's the reason for people hating sanding so much.
Yeah,
I remember the very first Windsor chair I built was in a kind of a kit class at Woodcraft. And instead of like saddling the seat with like scorps and chisels and stuff, we used a Rotex. Like on the rotary function when you take it off of random orbit and like granite 30 grit or whatever, and
heck yeah,
hollowed a Windsor seat with the sander. I mean, it probably would have been easier to have like a ball grinder or an edge grinder or something, but like the power of that, I mean, certainly going into the rotary mode helps a lot, but yeah, I mean, that was an eye-opening thing. And I think I went out and bought one of those like a month later because it's so much nicer.
Well, a 6-inch sander, it feels more stable. It's a little bit heavier. It not only just, the diameter being larger, obviously that means it's going to cover more ground, but I just find them to be more stable and easier to handle, less vibration.
That too. I didn't even mention that too. Like going from a cheap sander to like one of the good ones, regardless of the size, your wrists and your hands and like that weird tingly thing, the ghost tingles that you probably have now, doesn't exist. That goes away too.
So here's the other thing too, in volume. Now he's got a big job coming up, and my choices in a shop sander might be a little bit different than my choice if I had to do what he's doing. I mean, ultimately you're probably just going to get a good sander and then use it for this job, and then you got what you need. But 200 individual timbers, all 4 sides need to be sanded. I would be going with something as light as possible, but still being able to cover that ground. I might even be looking into some kind of like pneumatic option.
That'd be nice.
Especially if he's talking, I don't know
if it's assembled or not.
Okay, so that's the thing. I don't know if he's sanding overhead or vertically.
Yeah, that's hard.
That definitely.
If it's not assembled, go rent a floor sander and just
do that. Yes,
that's what we've done. That's what we've done at the yard when we've got like 8x8s and stuff. You just buy the floor sander and stand on top of the beam and walk back slowly. Flip it 90 degrees, do it again. Yeah, that's the way to go.
Well, either way, no doubt. 6 inches is going to be a good move there, Riley. All right, Shannon, you got another Marc.
I got another Marc, spelled with a K.
Yep.
It's a thing. He says, I'm curious if you guys have a go-to finish that you use when you're in a time crunch or just has to go as smoothly as possible, and why it's your go-to. Also, have you used a finish that really surprised you in a good way that you weren't expecting great results from? All 3 of you may answer.
Oh, well, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for permission.
Well, I don't think it's any secret. I've certainly spoke about it on this show and certainly talked about it a lot on my own stuff, but Endurovar is my go-to. General Finishes Endurovar is the finish that I know how it will come out every single time. I can look at a piece of furniture that I've just built and say, that'll take 4 coats, or that's a 6 coat Endurovar. Like it's that predictable for me now.
Yeah.
It's water-based, dries super, super fast. It's got a little bit of that kind of amber color that you get from an oil-based. Love it on walnut, love it on cherry. And it's just, I buy the stuff by the gallon, always have a gallon somewhere in the shop. If I'm really time crunched though, I mean, that's still pretty fast drying, but I'm still a big fan of shellac when it comes to the time crunch finish. Like that housewarming gift for the party you have to leave to in an hour. If it's not turned on the lathe and friction polished, a couple of quick coats of shellac, with like a single song playing in between coats for drying, like that's it, It's fantastic. As far as like a finish that surprised me in a good way, I have lots that surprise me in a bad way. I
most of them.
Yeah. I mean,
that's why I don't try different finishes anymore.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I had a
just
really
let down too many times.
I had a really good experience with one of those Rubio reactive finishes. Now I can't remember if it was smoked or fumed. I think it was smoked, but it's like, you have to apply it and then like walk away for a while for it to do its chemical reaction type thing.
Okay.
It wasn't, see, that's the thing. Cause fumed doesn't do what I think you think it does, like fumed white oak. I think fumed gives it a smoked look and smoked gives it a fumed look, if I remember correctly. That's why I'm confused. But anyway, it gave me like a kind of grayish smoky look to it on a shaker side table that I built. And it was, I wasn't expecting that much change during the reaction. It just goes on and kind of looks dark.
Yeah.
When I came back, there was really a lot of depth to the finish. So yeah, I'd say that was I already had a strong thing of what to expect as far as applying it. And I mean, Rubio's kind of stupid simple. Just Scotch-Brite pat it on and walk away,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How about you guys?
Well, I'm not going to answer it just because he told me to.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like something you would do.
So I would say where you use shellac in those quick projects, like light duty things, I do the same exact thing just with lacquer. I always have a can of just whatever cheap spray can, Deft or Midwax satin lacquer. And a lot of times, like the little cutesy projects, I'll do like a picture frame or a little thing for my desk. That'll just get lacquer because it's not worth taking days to finish it. Aside from that, I still use wiping varnish, just depending on the project, and most of the time a hard wax oil. So that could be anything from Natura One Coat to Rubio to Osmo. Anything in the hard wax oil family would definitely be a typical go-to for me. As for a surprise, I'll tell you, the one finish that really surprised me was polymerized tung oil, which is essentially just a heat-treated oil. There's no chemical additives. There's no thinners. Just in my experimentations with food-safe finishes and multiple coats with adequate dry time, just to see what just tung oil can actually do, and using the item and seeing how it wears over time, I've been genuinely impressed. And that's something I probably dismissed early in my career. Any plain oil I would just have thought was garbage, just because it's not building a film. It can't possibly be doing much for you. But I've got stuff that's been finished with several coats of tung oil, and someone who doesn't know any better would look at that and think that that could be, like a thin coat of poly or something. So, but it's time. Like, do you have the time to make that happen? Right. That's the problem with tung oil.
Yeah, I did a pine tar finish on some cladding about 6 months ago, and I think it's still drying.
There you go.
But it smells like a campfire. It's awesome.
That's
really
good.
Cool.
Oh, lovely. Wonderful.
So what are you using, Matt?
Wipe and varnish still is my kind of go-to because it's predictable, kind of like Shannon's Endurovar. I know what it's going to be every time.
Some jackass in a video called Simple Varnish Finish told you to do
that guy. He told me to do it. I'm like, this is great. It's super easy, and like the results are very consistent. I've been doing it long enough for
some dude with a soul patch told me to do it.
Some guy, he was really
Where'd
young.
that guy go?
He dumped a bucket of sawdust on his head. Some early video.
Look, I was young and naive. This is one of the reasons why people, when they ask the question of like, what finish? So many times my answer is just, which one are you good at applying?
That's my answer, is because I'm good at it and it's consistent. It's the same thing every time. I don't really
seriously.
have a
if you
reason
didn't
to change,
if you didn't create content for a living, would you ever use a different finish? Like, the only reason I've used half the finishes is because I feel like I have to, because I'm doing a video and it's like, well, I just used Endurovar in the last 4 finishes.
Should try something else.
I should probably try something different.
I've never felt that way. I've never had that problem. I've done videos where I intentionally try new finishes to kind of show that, but not like that's the whole video is like, let's try this new thing. As far as quick things, I'm like Marc when using lacquer, but now that I've been spraying lacquer products in the kitchen for like a year now, I'm kind of sick of that too.
A little over it.
I'm kind of over industrial lacquers at this point in my life. I'm like,
no kidding.
Killed enough brain cells.
Yikes.
Well, try aerosol shellac then. Just grab yourself a bullseye shellac in a can.
It's quick and easy. Just go outside, let it off gas for a few minutes, bring it back in. You're good.
Everything's
and then
shellac
you can start
now.
finishing.
I can go down the shellac rabbit hole. I'm cutting my own and grinding it up, and I got my coffee grinder for my shellac flakes, and I got my premium alcohol.
Right.
I was given like a Ziploc, like a large, what are those gallon-sized Ziploc bags of shellac flour by Don Williams. You guys remember Don Williams? The former Smithsonian restorationist.
Flour though.
And this was like he did a sap foam.
Powdered?
It is like flour. It's that finely ground.
Wow.
So it's like hyper concentrate shellac. Probably 2011, I built the shaker wall clock and I thought I'm going to shellac it. And I so screwed up the mix because it was so concentrated. I ended up with like a 12-pound cut of shellac. Nice. And it was super blonde.
It's just
the clock was like bright yellow. So yeah, that lesson became how to remove a finish once you've applied it poorly. Yeah, it was good.
Good thing it's alcohol soluble.
More alcohol.
The point is, it was a gallon bag, and I think I probably have 7/8 of the gallon still left.
Last year, the rest of your life.
Forever.
If you use it all the time.
That's crazy, man. To answer your question, Shannon, about content, I think the content gives me permission to do the stupid crap that I would want to do. Like, I would want to experiment with finishes, but without content, I would not justify spending the money on 3 or 4 different finishes to try them. So the process, I would probably still be experimenting. I would just be doing it much, much slower. Making videos on this stuff is my excuse to, go and buy it and say it's a business expense to go, try 10 different wiping varnishes and compare them. So
the time you spent messing with
miter gauges and finishes.
Under
that umbrella.
Another good example. Yep.
Oh, yes.
Oh, good stuff.
I'm going to buy one of those one of these days.
Well, you should talk to me. I generally have a new one every month or two.
I was thinking about it. It's like I was making something, whatever, with the miter gauge, and the angle slipped, and I didn't notice. I was doing all my doors. All the freaking doors. I was cutting all the shoulders on the doors of the miter gauge. Mm-hmm. And at some point, the miter gauge slipped to like 1 degree. So all my shoulders were like 1 degree out. Hey,
Oh.
it's a painted door. It doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
So you
Which
were
is
blaming
fine.
somebody else for the twisted hidden door, and it actually was your fault.
Those are
It was your
different.
miter
These are
gauge.
tinier doors. Tinier doors.
Little baby doors.
But anyway,
Well,
I was
yeah.
thinking maybe it's time I actually get a miter gauge, like a real one.
I can give you a recommendation when you're ready.
I was gonna go watch a video, but I guess I could just ask you sometime.
You can watch the video. It'll be
I
the same
try not to
answer.
bother people because like I know how it feels. I'm like I know you already put the information out there. I can go find it myself instead of
You're
asking.
the only person that gives me that courtesy.
Right.
Everyone else will just ask.
Yeah.
I know you
I'm
have
trying.
a video on this, but
I'm trying.
That's my most popular email. I know you have a video on this,
I
but
just want to hear it from you directly,
I know.
if that's possible.
Exactly. That's fine.
Yeah.
I answer them.
Hey, if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be here, right? People
Exactly.
have questions. We're here to ask those questions. We're happy to answer them. And Matt, when you're ready, I'll tell you to buy the Jessam. Okay.
Until another
Yeah.
one comes out.
Well, the other ones have come out since then, and I've done my updates, and I still say the Jessam is the top of the heap at this point.
Now, are you got an affiliate link for that or?
I'm gonna find one.
No. Oh, good. Okay.
I'll send. Hold on. In between shows, I'll send you a link.
I could go look
say-
myself, and you're just the person in
Yeah.
your video.
I'm sure if I did, it was linked there. So anyway, all right. Well, that's going to do it for us today. Remember, this show is made possible by the generous contributions of our patrons. And if you'd like to help out and get your name read on the show, and also get that ad-free version of the show, head over to patreon.com/woodtalk.
And thank you for the questions. Good questions this week. Keep sending those questions. Send us an email, woodtalkshow@gmail.com. And remember, if you went to Woodworking in America, like seriously, I want to know. I can't go. I want to know what it was like, what you thought. I'm really curious to see how the show holds up. What is it? How long has it been? 6 years? Longer than
A
that?
long time.
More than that. It was
Yeah,
2016
long
was the
time.
last one.
So help me live vicariously through you. And yeah, send in your experiences.
Recaps, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for listening, everyone, and we will catch you next time.
Bye-bye. Bye.